So you want the coveted six-pack? Well, who doesn't? It is the pinnacle of being in great shape. It is almost the standard. You have a six-pack, great shape. Not six-pack, well, not in fantastic shape. And so, how do you get it? Well, here are literally the only things that you need to know to get a six-pack. And if I disappear after this video, just know that the fitness mafia has gotten to me, because I have told the truth instead of selling you a course or doing some 5-minute abs bullshit video. And so, without further ado, let's continue and get on with the actual information of how to get a six-pack. Well, the only way to get a six-pack is to be lean, to be a low enough body fat percentage. And body fat percentage is simply the percentage of your mass that is fat instead of lean tissues. And as a man, you should be roughly around 15%, give or take, and that's when you're gonna see abs. And so how do you get to that 15%, body fat? That's the next question. Well, if you're above it, then, which you most likely are because you're watching this video, it means that you have to get in a calorie deficit, meaning that you burn more calories than you intake. Output bigger than input. Very simple. And you should aim for roughly a 500 calorie deficit a day. I would say that is a good, healthy amount. And so how do you know that you're in this 500 calorie deficit? That's the next simple, logical question. Well, what you can do is first track all your calories, all the sauces, everything that you drink, so on, everything. Because that's how you know that you're actually in some range. You know how many actually calories you're intaking. That's pretty important. And then track your weight every morning before you eat or drink anything. Because of course, if you drink something or eat something, it increases your weight. Because the food and water even though it doesn't have calories, it has mass, it weighs something. And so, before you eat or drink something, weigh yourself every day. And then see week to week that you're losing roughly half a kilogram or so. And then you know that if week to week you're losing roughly half a kilogram, you are in a 500 calorie deficit. And so you just literally track all the calories you eat, follow it for 1 week. If you're losing half a kilogram, roughly, or like a pound, if you're losing pounds, you're good, keep going. If you're losing more than that, then add 100-200 calories and see the next week. If you're losing less than that, or you're not losing anything at all, then cut 200-300 calories from whatever your daily calorie intake is and see next week again. But don't care about day to day. Day to day doesn't matter at all. Just like the stock market, the more you zoom in, the more it's like this. It just goes up and down, zigzag. It's the actual trend that matters. And that's why you should track every day, but see that you're losing week to week instead of day to day. Because day to day, it could be that you're just a bit more bloated, you drank a bit more water or whatever. And so don't care about day to day, care only about week to week. And so that's basically it. You want to get the 15% body fat, be in a calorie deficit until you get there. And you get there by tracking calories, being in a deficit, changing the calories if needed, and so on. What you eat doesn't really matter, but I'm going to give you a lot of tips right now. A lot of tips to make this a lot easier. First of all, do strength training, resistance training, almost anything. If you've never been to the gym, literally just go to the gym and use every machine for 1 to 2 sets, remotely hard. At least then you know you're doing something, right? If you're already training at the gym, just continue with your program and with common practice, progressive overload and so on. And do that and try to eat roughly, the 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight / 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Because that allows you, with the combination of strength training or resistance training, however you want to say it, and good protein intake, means that you're mostly gonna lose fat instead of muscle. And of course that's gonna help you get to leaner faster, because if you lose a lot of muscle, then yeah, you might lose a lot of weight, but you don't actually get leaner body fat percentage wise, because you lost muscle instead of the fat that you wanna lose. And now you're just a smaller dude. And so that's very important if you just wanna look good in general, you wanna strength train and build a good physique. Another super important tip is that walk a lot. Like, walk a lot. I walk everywhere. Walk to store, walk to gym, walk this, because not only are you burning calories while walking, when you're walking, at least for me, I have no hunger signals at all. Like, I can't feel hungry when walking outside. Like, it's... And also, when you're walking outside, it's less time of the day when you're sitting inside, bored, thinking about food. So that's another great tip. Another one is that if you're starting from a high body fat percentage, don't try to go from 30% body fat to 15 in one take. Like, probably go down, 10 weeks of cutting, so being in a deficit, and then maintain for a few weeks, 5 weeks maybe, then go for another 10-week cut, and so on. Don't try to go from 0 to hero instantly. You don't have to, and it's probably just gonna lead to you being in such horrible shape that, and so hungry that you literally quit. Because here's the thing, this is an endurance battle. Anyone can eat clean for one day. The hard part is sticking with it. And this is one thing that I've learned about life in general through this process. Everything takes longer than you think, and the hard part is sticking with it. So when it comes to, eating clean, training at the gym, anyone can do that. Literally, the person who is in the worst shape in the history of humanity can eat clean for one day. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of willpower, it doesn't take a lot of discipline. But the hard part is sticking with it for months, for years, for the rest of your life. Another thing, same with business. Anyone can go and, work hard on a project for a week. But the hard part is sticking with that project and making it better and better, that business or whatever you're working on, for years. Everything always takes also longer than you think. When I started my fitness journey, what a stupid saying, but started my fitness journey, I thought I would look like a fitness influencer in like 6 months. I legit was that stupid. I didn't know better. So I was like, I'm gonna look like a fitness influencer in 6 months. And to get the physique that I have right now, which, I'm pretty proud of. Top 1% in the world, 100%. But I'm pretty proud of it. Even now, it's taken 2.5, 3 years. So I thought 6 months, it actually takes 5 times that. So whatever you think you're gonna, it's probably gonna take 3 months for me to get that visible abs. It's probably gonna take 5 times longer. When you're starting a channel and you think, I'm gonna start my YouTube channel, I'm gonna probably blow up in 3 months. Probably gonna take 5 times longer, maybe 15 months. You think you're gonna start business and, I'm starting the business and I'm gonna get financially free. 5 times longer than you think. You think in 3 months you'll be, on the beach, on the other side of the world, doing whatever you're doing. It's gonna take 5 times longer. And the faster you just learn that lesson and you accept it, the better. Because then you realize that, hey, it's gonna take longer than that, which means that I already know that it's gonna take longer. So when I don't succeed instantly, it's not a surprise, and all of a sudden you're fine with it. And one of my examples with the YouTube channel, for example. Do I get anything from this channel? No. But I understand that it's gonna probably take 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And because I understand that it's gonna take that, instead of thinking, oh no, I haven't blown up in 3 months, I'm just like, here I am. 1.5 years of posting content, but I'm chill. You know, it's gonna probably take 1.5 more. Who cares? I know what it takes, so I'm just gonna do it. And so that's really what you will learn from a fitness journey, from getting to that six-pack. First of all, it's gonna take a lot longer than you think. It's gonna be harder because you're gonna have to stick with it. Because once again, one day of hard work, one day of eating clean, one day of going to the gym, that's all easy. The hard part is sticking with it. And you know, another thing about the gym that is such a life lesson, it's like very symbolic of life. You know, you go to the gym and you train. It's like you have to push yourself very close to failure, if not to actual failure. And that's when you grow. And that's symbolic of life. You know, in the gym, you go to the gym, you push yourself to failure. You see no noticeable results, but you do it again next week. You fail again next week, and the next week, and the next week, and you do that for months. And that's when you start seeing progress. And the same is with everything in life. If you're gonna post content, if you're gonna make a business, push yourself so hard that you fail. Push yourself so hard that you get a bad video that no one watches. Push yourself so hard that you make the sales call and no one buys. And then you do it again next week, and next week, and next week. And then eventually you will have grown as a person so much that then you win. Then you get the big life success. And so these are the big life lessons that you can learn from getting in shape, from getting a six-pack, from being, going to the gym. Like, it's very reflecting of real life. You have to push the failure multiple times, again and again, for a long period of time, and only then will you learn the lessons and grow into the person that will succeed. Pretty simple. And so, those were the epic tips on how to get a six-pack without training abs. I don't fucking train abs. So, you can get abs without training abs. And some of the life lessons you can learn at the gym. It takes longer than you think. The hard part is sticking with it. And you're gonna have to push the failure quite a few times before you grow into the person that actually succeeds. And so, as always, stay disciplined, chase your dreams, and have a fantastic day. And go get a six-pack.